Depending on what your background is, there might be a couple of things here that seem like they could be improved. For one, we're using a third-party CSS library now. We've downloaded a version of that library, and now it's part of our project. But what happens if there's an improvement to this library? What if some new versions of different browsers bring about some other inconsistencies between stylings, and the normalize.css gets upgraded to account for these inconsistencies? Well, to deal with that with our current workflow, we would need to set a reminder for ourselves to look for updates to this library, and then if we did, we'd need to evaluate whether we wanted to use the upgraded version or stick with our old version. Our main concern there would be that perhaps some of the styles that get added in might break what we already have. And finally, we would need to download the new code and replace our old code with it. If you just have a library or two in your project, then this isn't a big deal. It's still a pain, but it's not going to take a huge amount of time. However, if you've done any programming in the past, you may be familiar with the idea of a package manager, which is a tool that allows you to manage third-party libraries, to determine which versions of which libraries you want, and to deal with the dependency tree of using certain types of libraries. Sometimes you'll need a library that depends on some other library, and to figure out which libraries those are, find the right places to download them and put them all in the right places can be a challenge. The normalize library, which is how we're kicking off this discussion, isn't that complicated. It doesn't have any dependencies that we have to deal with. But we can use this as an example of how to use a package manager so that when we do get into libraries that are more complicated, that do have dependencies, we can deal with them in a sustainable way that will make our lives way easier down the road. Now in the front-end world, the standard package manager is called Bower. Bower runs as a command line utility, so you have to have access to a command line in order to work with it. Now if you feel worried by that idea, don't be. We have some videos that walk you through using a command line in great detail in another series. In this series though, we'll focus on just the commands that we need in order to work with Bower, but we'll also show you how to install it and walk you through any troubleshooting that you might have to deal with on your way to get it working. Now, Bower itself has a dependency on a project called Node. You may have heard of it before. And a little further on in this series, we're going to be dealing with Grunt and Gulp, which are automation tools for front-end development, and those also depend on Node. So even though it seems like we're installing Node and having to set up these dependencies for this one program just to deal with this one dependency on normalized CSS, we're actually setting up a foundation for other tools that we'll need down the road. So just relax. It will take us a little bit of time to get these pieces set up, but I guarantee you that they'll prove useful to you before you get too far into your front-end development skill set.